In this video, I'm going to go over a couple more categories of verbs. I really should have added in as well auxiliary or helping verbs in addition, because I'm going to do linking first, and then I'm going to do auxiliary or helping verbs. Alright, linking verbs. Linking verbs are a particular kind of verb that connects two things together to show kind of an equality, or to show, not an equality necessarily, but sometimes an equality, but sometimes just to link two things together, where you have the subject of the sentence, you've got your linking verb, and what's called your complement. A lot of times, the big example you're going to see here is with the verb to be as a linking verb. So, I am sick. So here's my subject, here's my linking verb, to be, and here's my complement, in this case an adjective complement. Right? It's a thing that describes what I am. Another example would be let's do another one. He is the winner. Here we have our subject, our linking verb, and this time a noun complement, right? That, in some sense, we're equating with this is, equating me, or he, I should say, with the winner. There are other linking verbs besides to be. These usually have to do with the five senses, like look, sound, feel, and so on. Also, sometimes, words like appear, seem, become. You don't really need to know this specifically. The one thing I do want to mention, though, that is important is the linking verbs link not only the words, but also the cases. So if you remember back to cases where you have the subjective or the objective case, if I had something like, say you answer the phone and someone says, it's Bill there, and you're Bill, you would say, you might say, this is him. But the problem is with that is you have the nominative, or the now subject of the sentence, this is your linking verb, and this must also take the subjective. So you actually should say this is he, not this is him. Or another example would be I am him. No, I am he, because both of these have got to be in the subjective case. So that's linking verbs. Not much more to say about that. Let's go into helping and auxiliary verbs for a bit. So auxiliary verbs, auxiliary or helping verbs, they go with other main verbs, mostly participles, to help flesh out a thought. It doesn't have to be participles, but can often be participles or the roots. I'll show you examples of both. Auxiliary or helping verbs go with the main verbs to show different kinds of moods or show time. So one example, as we've seen, would be tenses, the compound tenses, as they might be called. So example, I am walking would be present continuous or present progressive, right? It shows, here's my linking verb, here is my auxiliary verb in this case, and here is my present participle. Another example would be, past perfect, I had been walking, whatever. But there are other auxiliary helping verbs here, sometimes also known as the modal auxiliaries, are important. So want, should, could, would, any of these kinds of things. What kind of verbs go with these modals? Or what goes with what other helping verbs? Basically, we know just from speaking the language. So you don't say I want swim, you say I want to swim. You don't say I should to swim, you say I should swim. Right? So when you're trying to figure out what goes with these things idiomatically, you're going to know a lot of this already just from speaking the language. If you don't speak the language, well then, I consider, if English is not your first language, then you're going to want to find some other resource, because that's beyond the scope of the video to go into, what modal or auxiliary verbs take what forms of which words, and so on. So there's a lot of different kinds of auxiliary and modal and helping verbs that go with these main verbs, either participles or infinitives or roots or anything. I won't go into all those details, but do be aware that they are here. And just on the test, obviously you want to make sure, as always, that you have an independent clause, right? That you've got a main verb, so independent clause, you've got a main verb with a subject, and you don't have any fragments, so no fragments. Okay, so that's it for helping and auxiliary verbs and linking verbs.